Hey there, my name is Lauren, and you're watching the Grace and Frankie After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Today, we are going to be discussing episodes 3 and 4, so stay tuned for a whole lot of fun, you crazy kids.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Here's our music. Everybody twerk.
Is this a twerking song for you?
Absolutely.
Least twerking song ever. But
Every song's a twerking song.
if you work hard enough.
Yeah.
Admittedly, though, the intro makes me want cake. It looks like a good cake.
I said that today when I was watching it. Let's bring cake next week.
we should.
You should. Or like
Okay.
save it for the finale, get a little festive.
We'll make a wedding cake,
Ooh, yes.
and then we'll break it.
And then we'll all get married.
Don't worry, not hashtag single forever or anything else.
We can marry each other. That's going to be legal soon.
Cool.
Just kidding. Hey guys, welcome to the Grace and Frankie After Show. My name is Lauren. I'm your host, and I've got a beautiful and elegant panel with me. My friends, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Okay, hi, I'm Joelle Monique, and you can find me everywhere at Joelle Monique. Check me out, Black Girl Nerds, new reviews, all the stuff.
Hey everyone, my name is Dani Golub, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Dani Golub.
Hey guys, this is Zach Kelch. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach Kelch.
Nice. And I'm at Lauren Lograsso on all your social media platforms. So let's be friends.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Real friends.
Real friends, just like Grace and Frankie.
Quotation mark
Yes.
friends.
And also, don't forget to get on to iTunes and like and rate us. It totally helps us out exponentially, and it gives us kind of a nice interaction with you guys. And we can kind of hear what's going well and what you think we can improve upon, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you, and we appreciate you watching.
Definitely. Especially as a nice self-confidence boost on a Sunday after a messy weekend, you know?
Absolutely.
You might not be feeling great on a Sunday morning.
Lift us on up. So, we have 2 episodes we're reviewing today, 3 and 4. So 3 was called The Negotiation.
Yes.
There's a lot of good things happening in this one. A lot of nice plot points moving along. So the first thing was the Battle of the Grandmas, I like to call it. So Grandma Jean versus Grandma Grace.
Right.
And Grandma Jean's more of your traditional G-Ma. She wants to...
Getting down and dirty.
Getting down
kinda grandma,
dirty.
yeah.
Yeah, she likes to play car wash. I've never played that before, but it looked like fun.
Right.
It did.
Grace not so much into that. She wanted to read The Velveteen Rabbit, which...
Super sad.
Classics.
Have you read that book? It is a classic, but like that's a heavy book.
Yeah.
And I don't think you realize it until you're like 11.
Halfway through. Oh.
Yeah, but I think it's the kind of book where like when you're a kid, you don't realize how sad it is until you're a little bit older. You're like, that is a really sad
It's
story.
disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it to my first grade partner when I was in 4th grade. And I was like, "What is this?"
I don't even remember it. Maybe my parents didn't read it
really
to me because it's too traumatic.
Really traumatic, yeah.
So we'll do that after for a book circle weekly.
Our first book club book will be The Velveteen
right.
Rabbit.
So just so we can get on the same page as Grace, we want to really understand the characters. But Grace is feeling a little left out, and it's sad. You know, I guess I've never had that feeling since I'm not a grandma or a parent, but I can imagine you would feel some level of competition with your opposing grandparent.
You know, I mean, obviously
Especially-
the recent divorce and remarry adds a different
Yeah.
level, but do you ever feel bad when you tell one parent one thing before you tell the other and
Yeah.
just kind of
I
maybe
think
what
that's
the
the
parents
root of all this is
Right.
that Grace kind of felt like she was the last to know about this big piece of information about Mal
Mallory.
being pregnant. And so I think that she kind of just like felt like she was being shafted by her entire family and then stepping into that situation where she also wasn't even loved by like the grandkids, you know? She kind of felt just like
Right.
totally left out and like, where do I fit in this family now that I'm no longer with?
Her grandkids are like her acquaintances.
They were like, hey, and just had no interest.
Oh man, the clown situation was pretty
Oh.
hysterical.
I'm with him though.
Clown spray.
Yeah, so let's
Clowns
talk
are
about
freaky.
that. I love her climbing into the tent.
Right.
First
my
of all,
goodness.
she
And
is
bringing her tea.
limber. Yeah,
She is.
she's very limber. I gotta think she's been doing some downward dog poses because she had that table pose on lock and she
Right.
crawled on
She
it.
nailed it.
So that was fabulous. But yeah, so her tea was alcohol, right?
Right.
Okay.
She
yeah.
was just ripping shots in the tent.
I was
with the
hoping that one of
kids.
the kids wasn't going to pick it up and be like, I want some tea.
It would have been
This
funny.
is grandma tea only.
But I really liked
think
her
they're, like,
line of
legal
like,
issues.
friends who count don't count.
Yes.
I was like, I'm with you there, Grace.
And this is where the lice comes in, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because
With the
she's
Annie
laying on the
wig.
floor, and for the first time, she's actually trying to get like down and dirty with the grandkids, and then, you know, the
She-
granddaughter starts really going at it with her hair, and
Well, and she takes
Yeah.
the wig, and instead of like
Yeah.
a red afro of a wig, and instead of going
like
like
an Annie
Annie or something, she says she's a clown, which she doesn't know that the little boy is terrified of clowns, so he freaks out, and then it kind of turns into this moment of kind of a little standoff between the two grandmas because the other grandma clearly knows more about these kids.
Yeah.
likes
Well,
and
and did anyone
dislikes.
else like? Jean is so Midwestern in that she's
Right.
like, oh, everything's like it's their favorite TV show. Like, Jean, shut up. Like, nobody cares.
Right.
I
She's
really
not
feel like she was
being
rubbing
she's
it
not
and
being
bring-
vicious about it, I don't think, but she's just
I felt a
totally
little
felt she was
twinge.
rubbing
Really?
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Grace is enviable. Like she's maintained her looks at her age. Like she's got money. Like even though she's divorced, like at least her husband's still alive. Like Jean's husband is dead, and she's only
Right.
got plastic plants.
I feel like
to
Jean
keep her
was
company.
probably. I think Jean saw an opportunity where she had something that Grace didn't.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so she was like, I'm gonna hold on to this moment, and if I can make Grace kind of feel crappy, I'm gonna ride this wave because she's probably like, you know, Grace has everything I've always wanted, or has always had everything I've always
Yeah.
wanted. So here I
Right.
am trying to, you know,
It's my
I have
one shining
like I
moment.
have something now that she wants. So let's see how long I can milk this for.
And I don't even know if it's as deep seated as that. It kind of just felt like a classic woman rivalry. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
I'm better than you. No, and then Grace realized she couldn't really compete in that area, but she had other things to offer down
Right.
the road. Yeah, but then there was the thing. I think that kid's got a hell of an imagination that he thought she was that scary as a clown. Because I mean,
Not
Right.
a lot
anyone with
happens.
eyes could see that she just had the Annie wig on.
But then
Right.
his sister was
Together.
wearing moments before.
Right.
I also like that the spray was poopery.
Oh, is that what it was?
It
Oh,
looked like
was
that
it?
bottle.
I didn't-
Like,
I was wondering.
I was like, really?
I just kept hoping it was natural and they weren't ingesting chemicals. That's my one wish.
Just like
Water.
spraying some Clorox up in this tent, just like
Delicious.
yes.
But I kind of like the outcome of that storyline where, you know, the youngest son comes to Grace and is like, or she stumbles upon him, like, spraying the door, like, I have to protect mom because she's sick and there's not enough room in her stomach. I thought this was a nice place for Grace to be like, I will be the sensible grandparent. I will tell you
Right.
what's going on in real plain facts so you're not
Right.
confused.
Right. She didn't even realize that she was having this kind of realization until after it happened, that she was like, oh, this is the type of grandma I am, and this is still an important grandma.
Right. I
Right.
feel like a lot of parents, grandparents go through that realization of, you know, maybe they're not able to fulfill one type of, you know, persona as you would imagine a grandparent maybe would be, but they can also provide a lot in another area.
Right.
Like you don't have to be what you think is right. Like there is no right. It's what's ever right for you. And I think that she just needed a moment of like kind of quiet to relate, more so than like jumping into a situation that obviously wasn't catered to her.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it illustrates, too, how perceptive kids are. You can't just go around saying things in front of them because they're going to get scared.
Right.
So that Grandma Jean, while she maybe thought she understood the kids and she was on their side, she had said something that had petrified him enough to think that he had to spray the door to keep away whatever scary monsters and keep the baby safe.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers hearing things when they're a kid and taking them really seriously.
I mean, and I even learned something from Grace. I didn't know that babies grew in a different part of the stomach, like that there's a separate like baby compartment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if you were
mean-
being serious just now.
Baby
God,
compartments.
I hope,
Where do you think the food would go?
don't the baby get some of it? Don't they just like share it? It like
Oh my
Just
God.
slosh it around in the stomach.
It's like a
file.
potluck up in
Yeah,
here.
it's like a
The school
CC's
systems
pizza.
have failed you. The school systems have failed you.
It's all right. We'll get to that
That's
later.
horrible.
More sex ed. But
Cool.
taking that, going to a different subject. Okay, so I love that they had the moment of reconciliation, Mallory and Grace, where she comes and sits on the bed, and Grace tells her, hey, listen, I have felt left out. Everyone else found this out before me. Why? And finally, I mean, she tried to cover it up at first, but Mallory was able to be honest with her and say, listen, I remember the last time I had a baby, you told me that better be the last baby I had because I need to get my life started. And those things that your parents or anyone you love say to you stick with you and singe
Totally.
into you.
I think that was a really important moment for Grace too, realizing like we kind of talked about this last time about like how she was like really cold and shut off, and this was a perfect example of that. How she was before is different than how she is now. Like Frankie's kind of opened her heart a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. It was great to see. And she said, you know, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And did she admit in that moment that she wasn't happy in her own life? Is that, or did I just infer
no,
that?
I think she definitely touched on it.
Okay. Yeah, so she inferred, like, you know, I don't know who that person was. That's what she said.
That's what
I don't
she
know who
said.
that person who lived in that house was, but that's not me anymore, and I'm so happy that you're pregnant. So that was a beautiful moment of healing and reconciliation
Right.
and namaste.
It's really nice to see her move away from an achievement goal-based kind of persona to a more feeling and trying to connect with her kids. Because she was kind of cold season
Right.
1.
Well, and I mean, because she was like a working mom growing up. She had this beauty product line company that she was building up, so she always was I'm going to do it all, and I can do it all. So I think it was hard for her to see Mallory kind of accepting being a mom as her role. So.
A traditional woman's role.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but I think that's some of the power, and I know I get into that problem of thinking as a feminist, like, oh, well, if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's not being empowered. But no, like, making that choice is actually what's empowering.
Right.
So she's choosing to do that.
Yeah.
No one's forcing her to, and that's empowering.
Right.
I also
But-
think that it's nice to see that someone can change, like, later in life. Sometimes you think that, like, these people can't change. She's already kind of in her 60s, 70s, you know what I mean? Like, she's at the end, but it's nice to see that, like, she is becoming a lot softer with age, and like this experience has really like opened her up to being a different version of herself and a better version of herself.
Right. In this episode, like, Grace and Frankie kind of switched a little bit because now Frankie's in a position of becoming a businesswoman kind of for the first time.
Yes.
Which
So
a hell of a
great.
start and a hell of a product.
I think my roommate understands business quite well. Well, maybe.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was amazing. The yam lube. I'm glad it came back.
Yeah, they touched on it last season, and I kind of forgot about it until
Yeah.
this episode.
It was great. I think it's great that that's now come back, and now there's going to be a lot more room for Brianna, Frankie conversations, because those two together
They're my
are
two
like
favorite characters.
dynamite.
So
Yeah.
funny.
Every funny line that was in both of these episodes either came out of Brianna's mouth or Frankie's mouth.
This
So
is true.
the
This
fact
is
that
true.
they could be in the room together, acting together, working off each other's energy is amazing.
Yeah, I laughed out loud so many times in these episodes. I did have some problems with some of the plot, but man, like there was just so many good lines.
Yeah, and
Right.
Frankie wants $9 million from Brianna's
Yeah.
company for the end.
Right,
She had her.
but the best is this is like a number that she thinks she actually came to specifically because she balanced her checkbook for the first time.
That's the funniest line. She was like, I was balancing my checkbook and $9 million would really solve things. I can really relate to that issue. Like, yeah,
Totally.
that would just, I think about that sometimes. Like, yeah, winning the lottery would just really solve a
You
lot
know,
of my problems,
Be
you
a
know?
nice thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I understand.
But
where
I wonder
Frankie
why
was going.
9. You
Right,
know?
exactly.
Like,
That's-
we should look that up if it has some sort of spiritual meaning or if it
Probably.
just, yeah.
The numerology of 9.
Yeah.
So
She's going on it.
I'm googling it right now.
Well, it was really funny because she becomes all of a sudden in the moment. She takes charge of this product and becomes much more business minded and doesn't really just let Brianna get away with anything. So she sets up a formal meeting, brings her son Bud, who's an attorney, in with her to really negotiate this. And there's a funny power dynamic standoff between both of them staring across the table and refusing to be the first one who sits down. And,
Yeah, it
and,
looked like it
and
hurt.
Brianna's just like, what the hell did I do? Like, because she can't get anywhere with her.
But I love the part in the kitchen where she's turning on the Vitamix every
just to
time.
stop her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Also, you guys, when she puts the cucumber in the Vitamix and says, take it,
Yeah.
I died.
Frankie.
Innuendo. Love
Yeah.
it.
So the number 9 is the number of universal love, eternity, faith, universal spiritual law, the
See,
concept
there
of
we
karma,
go.
spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening, service to humanity. A lot of things
Very
represents
Frankie.
the number 9.
Do you think this is one of those things, though, if you Google number 8, it'll say almost the exact
Probably.
same thing, but with different
I
words?
don't.
Numerology is a very exact science. When
Yeah.
people have studied and
Come on.
no, that's a
Okay.
joke.
I gotta get on my set of my numerology, guys.
Yes, you do. You
I
have
have 2 textbooks to buy on
Lots of
Amazon when I get
courses.
home.
For
Yes,
little
some
Zachary. Okay, so you guys, they have the meeting. Bud Abudike is her lawyer, taking it very seriously as
Right.
well.
So funny.
Which is so
My
cute.
mother, my client, so great.
My mother client.
Will anybody be taking minutes?
Oh, the guy taking minutes, her secretary, assistant, whatever he is, so funny.
Yeah.
Congrats to that actor. That was a job well done. It's hard to make those little parts amazing.
Yeah,
and
He
and
had like
you killed
3
it.
lines, and
He like kind of
really
made that
popped them.
scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I feel like that will be. It's hard to come into a group of people I feel like who are so close and work together all the time and have already on their second season and just come into a scene and like own that scene and kill
Right.
it and be so funny. He was
He
great.
had good moments first season, too.
Yeah, he was in there last
His good
season,
comedic
but
timing.
Briefly.
I could use a lot more of him.
Right.
Him and Brianna's relationship back and forth is really great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So Frankie starts out, obviously, she comes in hard, saying again she wants $9 million. But there's a percentage that she can get off of what the gross will be of the sales of the product.
Right.
So Brianna offers 2. She's like, no, Bud's saying, no, we want 3. But Frankie's got her own mind, you know? And so finally they say 3, but she goes, no, I'm not satisfied with that. Let me go figure out what I want. So she goes outside and she's talking to herself.
For quite a long time, the editing would allude to.
Yes, and she comes back in and she realizes what she wants and she speaks her truth. So what she wants is 6%. She wants to be able to decide what is on the label, so like the artwork for the label, and she wants respect.
Right.
And she gets all 3 of those. Brianna agrees.
Basically, what was really cool is that she didn't just take a buyout. She wants to actually be involved in the process, the creative, everything, and actually become now a partner with Brianna on this product. So I think it'll be cool to see how this develops, and maybe her, she already has an idea for the artwork, which is, I guess, a mural of her own vagina.
Which is amazing.
Respect.
And her Georgia O'Keeffe on. I can really respect it.
Yeah, so they agree. They walk out. But they make sure they take those sandwiches, which, again, respect. Because you need to get that free food on lock.
Of course.
Always. Especially when you're balancing a checkbook. That can be a depressing moment in life. So there's one other big plot point that's happening in this episode, and that's Saul and Robert, and they're deciding what kind of gay they are.
Right.
And this all spurs off because Robert's got a really cute nurse who's super fun, and I think Saul's a little jealous of him.
Oh,
yeah,
I think totally. That first look, he was like, "Who the hell is this? I met all of your nurses. Why are you here?"
Right. But he's fun, and he's kind of integrating him and teaching him about a life that Robert could have now that he's completely out, he's married, and he just had a heart attack, so he's got a new lease on life.
I think Robert's kind of always wanted this life a little bit too, but lived such a strict,
push it down kind of lifestyle.
Like hide my true self, and now maybe he feels like he's out and can like really show who he is.
Right. So this guy's coming through. He's telling him about, we'll sing show tunes together. We're having so much fun. He tells him about the drag queen bingo.
Which sounded amazing.
I heard that's awesome.
Sounds so fun.
It can be a good time.
Yeah. Have you been?
I have.
Oh.
There is, I don't know if I should product place or anything here, but there is a bar in the area that is known for their drag queen bingo. And their margaritas are like the size of like my face, so that's great.
Face size margaritas, I'm not mad at that.
But what is really interesting about this storyline is that it's showing that, gay culture isn't just necessarily about relationships or who you're sleeping with. Gay culture is its own thing, and it's not like an inherent or taught lifestyle. It really is what you make of it and finding your own niche. And I think for these two, now that they have the relationship aspect that they've always wanted, they're realizing, there's a lot of other stuff to being a gay male that we haven't really necessarily experienced. And particularly Robert is, with his young nurse, kind of showing him things that maybe he's missed out on. It's a new time at an older age where they're going to be able to do and explore these fun things for the first time. Right. And, that can be scary to someone like Saul because, sure, some of it has the allure of being a hypersexualized kind of culture or something where it could be a little scary for a new relationship to step into, but I think that this is something that will only bring them closer together and let them really understand now what they've been missing and who they really are.
Right. And it kind of reminded me, we have a mutual friend, Johnny, and he's also a host here, Johnny Manganello, and he's doing a play right now, which you guys should all check out. This is like the plug-ola station, but it's going to be really cool. It's Gay Guide to Tinseltown. But he talks about that a lot, how being gay isn't just like, okay, now I like guys. There's a culture there, and it's up to you, like, how much you want to embrace of it, how much, you tread your own path, but it's not just the fact that you like the same sex.
Of course.
And I think that's a really cool thing that they're getting to explore now. And I was so interested by the fact that Saul was the one that shut it down.
Yeah, I also think it's nice, though, that, like, you also see what Saul and Robert have. Like, I think that sometimes people, associate gay culture with, like, only the flamboyant side of things, whereas they have a really beautiful relationship that, is maybe not exactly what we see portrayed in pop culture of what gay culture is. You know what I mean? I think it's nice that, yes, they can explore all different sides of themselves, and it's interesting that Saul kind of is blocked off to this because he is usually the more free-spirited one.
I think right now he's in such a weird position of being stressed out about
with
keeping the secret still in.
That was my thought too.
That already him being nervous, like, if I tell him this could ruin the relationship, that now kind of adding another wrench into it,
there's
and
another layer there.
A hot young guy who is harmlessly flirting with my husband, like I think all of it's a little too much for him right now, so he's not really wanting to, go out and wear his heels for the first time right now.
I feel he's repressing his need for gay culture because he's feeling so much angst over what happened with Frankie.
Right.
So, anyway, but it all ends up working out because we have a gay bingo moment at the end.
It was beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, what was the drag queen's name? Do you guys remember?
Was that anaphylactic shock?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
it. That was awesome.
Which was beautiful. She was great. And I like that he set it up as a surprise for both of them. It's like, yes, I did my husband wrong, but you're just trying to help a guy. Like, you're a really great nurse, and I owe you an apology, too. I thought that was nice.
And nurses have the hardest job in the world. So the fact
so
that
much
he was
respect.
that
Seriously.
up and excited to be there and trying to lift him up was amazing.
My favorite part is when he's like, he's not yelling, but he's louder than Saul would like him to be. And Saul is like, aren't there patients sleeping? None of mine.
It's nice. It's all good. So they had fun doing that. And the other cute thing was Grace and the kids playing, was it gin?
Gin.
Yeah,
Gin
at the
rummy.
table.
Yeah.
that was
playing
really
cards.
cute.
There was one line too from this episode when Brianna is talking to Grace about Mal being pregnant, and she goes, "Yeah, she's pregnant. That's kind of her thing."
Yeah.
I thought that was such a funny one-liner. She's like, "Yeah, like someone has this as their thing, and like being pregnant is her thing." Like she wasn't surprised. Like that's what she's always pregnant kind of thing, which I thought was a really funny one-liner from this episode.
It's such a funny idea that being pregnant could be like
Good
my
nice
shtick.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just has a very hospitable uterus. See, guys, I do know what a uterus is.
All right.
We're learning today.
Learning.
So much growth already.
The more you know. One other thing too is the last moment between Frankie and Grace. So when she comes in and Frankie's painting the vagina.
Yeah.
They really weren't together much this episode
No.
either, which like it's always them two, and for
Right.
once they kind of were doing their own thing, so it was nice to have a moment at the end of them two coming back together.
A moment of peace.
It was really funny that it ended on the joke of, well, now you won't be recognized on the street anymore. And then Grace says,
You
but
might
you
be.
might, and kind of does a look down and like end scene.
There was a lot of really funny potential names for her.
Product.
Yam.
Oh yeah, let's go
They
through
were
some of those.
Lubrican and Menopause.
That's
and,
my favorite.
What
then
was the Vagicadabra?
Yeah, and then Wham Bam Thank You Yam.
I like Lubricant. the
Lubrican
best.
was my favorite
That sounds
too.
fresh.
Right.
I wonder what they're actually gonna call it, because I bet next few episodes we'll get a name
I'm
eventually.
sure.
You guys in the comments, if you can come up with better yam lubricant names,
Yeah.
I would really like to hear them.
Ooh.
I wish I had
Really,
a
really.
prize. I wish we had a can of lamb. I just said lamb.
Oh my god!
I mean, that's
Yam.
one of the most
Yam
horrendous things I've ever heard.
Well, let's move on from this
Please.
to episode 4.
Always forget.
Always forget the road trip. So
Which, by the way, Zach kind of predicted.
I kind of predicted
In
this
his
last
ratings last
episode.
time.
you didn't kind of predict it. You 100%.
Yeah, he
predicted
went-
it.
Well,
like,
I mean,
let's
this is
have
a
him do
little
it.
more low key than I was thinking that I had in mind, but it counts.
He was hoping for like a road
like
trip.
go to Joshua Tree and find themselves kind of a thing.
Yeah, but this was. I mean, maybe they'll continue this because it looked like they had some fun together.
Although I think driving was a little traumatizing for
Frankie
cannot
Frankie
drive
trying to
anymore.
merge on the freeway. I had so much empathy because
So
I have been there.
funny.
Like it's scary trying to go when people are going 60.
Yeah.
She had a whole line of cars behind her, and Grace was like, "Yeah, you've been here for 15 minutes. Like no wonder everybody's honking."
That's way too long.
Well, Grace is
Wait,
just
it was
really funny.
boozing in the passenger
I also
seat.
feel like it wasn't California enough, and that someone didn't hop out of their car and start
Oh,
berating
yeah.
the driver.
there would have been a brawl on that
Yeah.
ramp.
Oh, people would have been dragged out. It would have been terrible.
Riots. So this episode starts out with them in the kitchen. Grace is making Bloody Marys because I guess she had a crazy night the night before. And Frankie walks in. She's been doing some Google searching, and she found Grace's former lover, or maybe he
Phil.
wasn't a lover. He was just a love that was lost.
Yes.
So she found him on the Facebook.
She said something funny too. She goes, "My computer's frozen now." She goes, "I think it was by the FBI, but it could be a virus. It's best to lay low." Because she kept Googling and her computer wasn't working anymore. But I just love that line. She's so funny, and like her brain just goes to the most hilarious places. And if you're not like fully paying attention when watching, you'll miss funny one-liners like that because she
Right.
kind of said it like in
So
passing.
she throws so much of it away
Yeah.
because that's just the character. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it was great.
So she says, "Hey, listen, Grace, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
He doesn't live that far away.
He doesn't live that far away. We gotta go see him." Grace gives her a lot of pushback. She is not down to clown. Now, looking back on how this episode turned out, why do you think that was? Do you think she had an inclination of how it would end?
Well, I think so. Long story short, when she does in fact meet him, he's very not happy to see her and is actually angry, and there's an allusion to her standing him up 15 years ago to a certain extent. We don't really know the story, so I think she didn't tell Frankie the whole truth, as in it seems like she did something wrong to him in the past or really hurt him. And so I think in her vulnerable state of being single and figuring things out, and sure, she had this epiphany that there's something about him that she still needs to kind of reconcile or whatever it might be. I think she's not good with rejection, and she doesn't want to feel like she's done anything wrong again. I think she already is very analytical of herself right now and doesn't need more of it. So I think she was just probably very scared and knew what the reaction would be when she got there. But Frankie's so gung-ho about it, she really couldn't say no.
I also feel like Grace has been shying away from new things. Like, she's very much rooted back into her family kind of self-exploration. I think inviting someone new into her life would be really difficult.
I almost feel like it's harder to invite someone old back because he knew her and what she once was, whereas if she met someone new, they would know the new Grace, whereas I bet you he knew like the old, very hard, exterior, kind of like stuck in this family maybe that she wasn't happy in, but he knew her in that life, and now she's living a new life, so maybe it would even be easier for her to open herself up to someone new rather than someone like this who knew her before.
Especially since somebody like that really loved her. It seems like something like a whole life that she walked away from potentially.
Yeah, I think it's probably more that aspect of it, because I know she dated that other guy who was good friends with Robert all those years. So I don't think it's necessarily who she was when she was in her marriage, but more so the fact that she's afraid of rejection because of what transpired between the two of them. We also left out the fact that at the beginning of this, they were talking about their young selves, which I thought was really interesting. So
they
Francis.
were trying, they were discussing kind of what they thought their best selves were. I think Frankie straight up asked Grace, like, when was your best self?
I think that was with
self?
Phil, and so that's, I think, why they wanted to go see him. I think she realized that she was her best self when she was with this man. So kind of Frankie found the Francis, this like young high school version of herself, and so she was pushing Grace to find that same version of herself in someone else. But I think a lot of this has to go back to like they realize that finding yourself is about finding it from within, not from a man. You know what I mean, or from a partner. And I feel like Frankie had found herself from like a version of her from the past, but for Grace they went back to a man again, which I feel like happens to Grace a lot. And I think Grace is like slowly going to realize that she could be happy on her own, but I don't think she's there yet. You know what I mean? And I think that this was kind of a little bit of a setback for her, but I feel like if in the end of the day it will help her go forward and realize that she's okay on her own. And because I feel like she still goes back to, whereas Frankie goes into relationships where she just like kisses a guy and gets like very high school girl excited about it and wants to like talk about it and gossip about it, whereas Grace has kind of lended herself to a little bit more serious relationships we've seen, like wanting that support and that partner more so, and kind of hasn't really gained her independence on her own yet.
Right, and I think that this storyline, I feel like it's going to keep developing, but it's kind of showing an example of how, a second chance might not be as easy as you want it to be.
Right.
True.
So they go on this road trip. They decide to, go into the open road. Frankie's going to drive because Grace is downing Bloody Marys next to her like it's Campbell's chicken noodle. And they are just on the road. She ends up pushing on the accelerator, Grace, because she just can't wait anymore. And I agree with you that, like, in real life that would never happen. So that was one moment when I bought out. Sorry, guys. Just one moment. So they end up driving all the way there. They get stopped by a cop, which is a funny little
It was so funny. She was just rolling the window up, and as it was rolling up, the cop was like going up with it to try to keep eye level with her.
What was her line about saying, like, she just throws out a comment about like how she thinks cops are useless or whatever because she's like that anti-establishment kind of a girl.
She also said that she thinks that she has a theory about how the government controls the weather. Like, she just throws out one-liners like that where it's like that's the kind of thing if you aren't listening to her, you are gonna miss those lines.
But it's so funny. Before he even says anything, also he approaches and is the most nice person.
It's completely respectable. And she was just chewing him all the way
And she
out.
just goes, I know my rights and I demand to know why you pulled me over.
It's like your brake light's out, your license is expired.
Yeah.
They expire? Oh my gosh.
There was something that really disturbed me about this part though, because her license was expired. So Grace had to drive, but like we were well aware that Grace was drunk, and that really kind of upset me that the show put Grace behind the wheel after we knew she had been drinking.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Without any consequences.
I know, and I don't think it was promoting drunk driving, but I don't think it was. I think that maybe that was just like a hole in the plot because she was definitely drinking. She was nervous, so she was drinking.
But she didn't seem drunk.
She didn't seem drunk, but come on.
And
that's
from From a logic standpoint, though, it was a way risky. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but
No.
as human beings thinking in that moment, it was a way riskier move to put Frankie in the driver's seat because that gap was
know.
probably circling around the hood
Right.
still.
Also,
so you
they
could have
did
seen them.
They did allude. I think maybe this was them trying to cover that up in case people thought about this. When she was pulled over, she said, "Come on, like we're just a couple blocks away." So I think they were actually just around the corner.
They're
I know
also
it's so,
working under the
but-
assumption that Grace is a functioning alcoholic, and it's not something the show's really gotten into. But 2 episodes ago, we had her hiding liquor in a house. They've been living there for, I would say, like 6 months. The guys alone, and they still hadn't uncovered this bottle. So
Right. I never think about it that way.
Me either. I
making a
kind of just
drink.
think she's fun as like a sassy
Right.
grandma, but now I'm like, oh, maybe.
Right. I mean, if it was back in 55 when we were watching this, 1955 that is, I would think, wow, that woman really likes to drink. But I think now it's just like, I think drinking is such a part of our culture
Right.
that it just
Right.
seems normal.
Yeah, I just, that was the one part of this episode that I was like, I wish that they, like, didn't have her do that, you know?
I just chose to believe that she had gotten sober by the moment she took the
Right.
driver's wheel.
But it's funny that she was just so nervous about this, which I think we can now look back and say it's an illusion that there's more to the story that we don't know. And you know, sometimes romance doesn't always go as planned.
I'll say, you know, The Bachelorette knows that better than anyone. Because on The Bachelor, Ben told JoJo he loved her. But her fairy tale ending crashed straight to the ground when he said he loved someone else more and sent her away with a broken heart. It was the most dramatic Bachelor finale ever. Well, been there, done with that. ABC, Monday, May 23rd. JoJo is back as a new Bachelorette. The stunning fan favorite from Texas is leaving her heartbreak behind, going from Ben to 26 new men, all hoping to be the one to make her happily ever after finally come true. Are the guys here for the right reasons? Will they make a connection? And will JoJo finally get the happy ending she always wanted?
And deserves.
That's right. The surprises start night 1 as the guys try to grab her attention right out of the limo to get that coveted first impression rose. A new, epic journey of romance, man tears, and drama is about to begin. The Bachelorette premieres at a special time Monday, May 23rd, 9/8 Central on ABC.
Woo!
That was an amazing performance.
I'm telling you, Chris
blown
Harrison better
away.
watch his back.
That's
was
right. I'm
stunning.
gonna cut you, Chris Harrison.
I love a good
Say,
threat.
I'd love to work with you someday.
You know, there was another little romantic moment similar to, say, a finale of The Bachelor or Bachelorette with some rings in this episode.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
were.
there was. But I think we should stay on the topic around for 1 minute.
Oh, you
Is
got
that all right?
you have another point?
Yeah, because we're not done with the road trip scenario yet.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it ends up with them getting to the house, right?
Right.
And so they get to the house. They're sitting outside. And like, how can we lure him out of his homestead?
Oh, this is amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I never thought about
This
this.
is the most
I mean, I guess
high
I've
school
never.
moment
That's
that the
what
show has had in forever.
Did
I
this
wrote
happen to you in
down.
high school?
No, but I just feel like these two like older women have they've been married for 40 plus years. They're kind of re-exploring their like super girly like girl time, and they're like
Absolutely.
having girl talk and gossip and like pranking boys and like doing such
Yes.
cute things that like it's so entertaining and refreshing to watch two older women do these things, because women don't have to become like boring with age. Like they are so fun. I would love to hang out with Grace and Frankie.
Heck yes.
And I'm like a third of their age, but I love them. They're way cooler than I am.
Maybe we
What?
can get them to sit on that couch someday.
Maybe.
What did Frankie say about? She was like, in any of my plans, I always have 3 options, or like what?
She does.
She said in my sleuthing plans.
In my sleuthing,
I always
amateur
have,
sleuthing.
Yeah, exactly.
I love when it's a hard T in amateur. It just makes it-
Amateur. Oh, when she said France in episode 3, that was really funny too. Take it back, TBT. So yeah, I love that. And so the first one was throw a rock through the window because
Right.
they'll have to come out to see who did it,
Right.
which would be awful.
It's terrible.
The second one was ding dong ditch,
Right.
But they can't run because
Yeah,
they're
they're
old.
like, they're
Yeah,
like
they were like,
so
that
a
wouldn't
slower run, so walk.
And the third one, which I thought was brilliant, and I wish
Brilliant.
I had thought of when I was a crazy high school girl /
Right.
now, to send a pizza to the house of your former lover / hopeful future lover, so that they will open the door and you will get to see a glimpse of their face to see if perhaps they might still have that loving
That
feeling
is
for you.
Because then
So
most likely, because I mean,
much.
depending on how it works out, you probably get some pizza out of it at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
at least
So
you get a
it's
pizza.
They
Worst case
certainly
scenario.
They're like,
Yeah.
we gotta go pay for this pizza now.
So she goes up to the door to pay for the pizza, which I thought was a really bold move. Like,
It
I would have
was.
waited for him to come out of the gate
For
and then
sure.
been like, let's go over here and make a business deal.
Right.
Well, the show
That's
needed the
TV.
moment to
Yeah.
happen.
They definitely
Yeah.
did. Understandable. So he comes up, good old Philip.
Beautiful
Collins.
dog, by the way.
Comes up with a gorgeous dog.
Respect for that dog.
Mad dog respect. And he's pissed. I don't
is.
see an ounce of love in his eyes.
Part of me was
No.
bummed because
But-
I know that like this is what Grace needed to move forward, but I mean in my like rom-com self was like hoping that there'd be this beautiful moment of like them going back and having this like rekindling and we've missed each other, but
I was actually really happy that this moment happened for a couple of reasons. One, Grace does not get confronted a lot.
Right.
Like, she's a
Agreed.
bulldog of a human being, and it's awesome. But she kind of steamrolls people a lot. And this guy was standing firm. He was like, nope, you messed up. I waited for you, and you didn't come. And I had no idea what it was you were going through because you didn't communicate that with me. And I also feel like you can't be that mad at someone if you're really done with them.
right.
Like,
True.
I really feel like there's still enough
He wouldn't
love.
harbor this anger if there wasn't enough love there or longing for what could have been.
I didn't see the love behind his eyes. Like, even when I am living
Because
with
he's
someone.
hurt.
No. Even when you're hurt, you still have love behind your eyes.
30 years of hurt, though? And then
Yeah.
for you to
We
show
gotta
up out of the
we
blue?
gotta figure out what
There
happened
wasn't
though
enough
first.
passion. It
That's
was
fair.
just anger. I didn't feel the passion.
I bought
And I'm
it,
not
too.
saying
Because he's
that
a manly man in his white t-shirt and his big ass dog. He doesn't show those feelings.
you
very
got a big
easily.
ass dog. You gotta have some passion. Come on.
Fine.
Anyway, but I mean, I'm hopeful that we'll get to at least hear more of the story because I
Sure.
want to know what happened with that night.
Yeah, that was going to be in one of my predictions. Kind of like trying to think like what happened. It also could kind of it could kind of reveal more of why Grace is the way she is, you know, because it seemed like a really big important part of her life. I mean, she thought she was the best version of herself when she was with this guy. So clearly it was important to her, and I think maybe we could find more about Grace because I feel like we know a lot about Frankie because Frankie is like really extroverted and says what she's feeling, whereas I feel Grace is more introverted, and like we know a lot about her, but we don't know like her story as much, and we don't know much about like her emotions because she kind of covers that a lot of time with alcohol, a lot of time with like joking and brushing things off, whereas Frankie's very like when she's upset, it's like she's in the living room sprawled out with all of her feelings. Like I can definitely relate to that a lot more than I can to how Grace handles emotion, but like I think that we will learn more about her if we learn more about this story.
Right. I like it. So Robert's also coming home today.
Oh, boy.
I did not know those chairs were a thing. Is that a real? Do you think that's a real thing?
Yeah, oh, no, they're real.
Oh, those stand-up.
There's lots of geriatric accessories.
I was hoping that they were going to get him one of the ones that goes up the stairs.
Me too.
Those are
I've
cool.
always wanted to do one of those. Those are so cool.
I've done it. It's really
Yeah.
fun. I hope to have one as an elderly person.
It's
Or
weird and
as
very
a
They're so
slow.
middle-aged
cute.
person.
or now, but it'd be
Right.
helpful.
But everyone's like Saul wants to tell Robert at this point the secret.
Because
But
now his health is back
right,
on
but
point.
Brianna
so.
has an amazing line where she goes, "Some secrets are just meant to become cancer, so now enjoy your shortened life." Like, you're not going to be able to tell him. Even though he really wants to tell him, he's like, nope, that's not going to happen. Like, this secret is going to just, like, live inside of you now and ruin you and shorten your life, but gotta live with it.
I mean, that was a very Brianna thing to say,
Yeah,
but I'm
oh, it
also like, girl, this is why you have so many issues.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you need to
oh,
just
yeah.
communicate your issues. Like, don't pass your bad habits on to other people.
That's Brianna for you.
It's just
It's hard. It's hard to say what
You said something
the right
last
answer.
time. You said something last time that actually really made me think.
they kind of had a line where they were kind of saying this about psychologists saying
yeah,
if there's no intent of doing it again.
Exactly,
then-
like if you've cheated on someone one time and and it's never gonna happen again, and you feel terrible about it. It's what you said is it's like more selfish almost to tell because you're getting the guilt off of yourself.
Right.
When I really feel like that applies to the situation, it's like Robert would only feel more hurt, and especially because he's in such a vulnerable place because he's sick. I feel like it's solely for Saul. And I think that's kind of what Brianna, in her weird, obscure way, was trying to get at. You know, like, this is the kind of secret that
Right.
you need to keep for your own, to keep to yourself. Like, be selfless, in a sense. As much as the act you did was selfish, now you need to, like, be selfless and respect. The only problem is too many people know, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
here's the problem. I feel torn because I agree that it doesn't do Robert a lot of good, except for the fact that I don't think Saul can keep it in forever.
Right.
Like, just his
Saul can't
personality,
live
he's
like this.
going to tell. And
or someone will.
Right, and then
That's
the
the
distance
problem.
of time is what makes it worse. Like, if he was able to tell him, like, look, I just wanted to wait till you were better, and I really feel like I have to tell you that I did this thing, and it's never gonna happen again, but you deserve to know. Whereas now, it's been weeks or months or however long it'll be, and especially if he finds out from someone else, like, we started our relationship off on a lie. Like, why would
Right.
you do this to us?
I feel like though,
But
I
they did
never,
start their
I
relationship
never
on a
feel
lie.
like
That's what I'm
relationships
saying.
relationships that start off with cheating are always gonna have problems like this because it's like, so now he cheated again.
What
but,
makes this?
But like, how is this
Yeah.
different? Like, is it okay? Because can he really be mad because that's what they were doing?
I feel like it
such a
karmically balances
mixy-
everything out.
But see, if I
That's how
were,
I feel too.
and I understand Saul's desire more than just getting the guilt out. I think if I were him, I would want to be like, yes, this is how our relationship started, so let's be better than that old relationship. Let's be better than a bunch of cheaters and liars.
Right.
Like, we're old. We can. I mean, we're mature, and this is a young new relationship in a different way. So let's make it start the right
But also,
way.
he didn't go out and cheat with someone new. He wasn't trying to replace you. Like, it was literally a one-time thing with his ex of 40-plus years. Like, so at some point, you have to be like, you guys needed that closure.
Right.
We ruined your relationship. And Saul and Frankie had a really beautiful relationship, even if it wasn't 100% honest. The parts of it that were good were really strong. And so I feel like Robert has enough room in his heart to forgive Saul for that. And I think it's kind of, it really puts Robert down when it's like, oh, he can't handle it. Like, Robert's not a fragile person.
Well, and Robert's clearly very smart because when he overhears the kids talking about it and Brianna throws out the lie that coyote has chlamydia, he pretty much sees right through it that's not really what the discussion at hand was, and
the clap.
He can tell
And-
it was worse than that, but
and when Saul says, and they offered him pain drugs and he said no, and I'm so proud of him for it. Like,
what I find so interesting about this is I think Saul was so afraid of being alone and Robert like wanting to leave him from this, when it's interesting because I feel like they didn't even think that much about Grace and Frankie when they left them and how they were going to be on their own. So it's so interesting that, like, you know, Saul was thinking, like, is Robert not going to want to be with me anymore? Like, we just got married. Is he going to want to end things because I did this thing? And, like, they didn't really, I don't think, empathize with the fact that their wives were going to have to go be alone, or ex-wives, I guess, and, like, live their
Right.
lives and be independent at this age. And I think that it's, maybe he can kind of empathize more now with how they felt in that moment, even though I know Robert won't leave him, but, like, if he does decide to tell, that moment of, like, you know, not knowing the unknown is kind of like what they just put their wives through. And I don't think I think they've been so excited about their future together that they haven't really taken a moment to, like, feel the pain that their wives have gone through. I think we see it more from Grace and Frankie's perspective. We don't really see how Robert and Saul, I think we did a little bit last season, but we haven't this season see, like,
And it's definitely escalated since last season.
Yeah, I mean, like,
the cheating is one thing, but Frankie married you
them.
guys.
That's what I was gonna say.
The
Like, I don't think that
sacrifice
they
of that.
exactly. I don't think that they really have, like, taken to heart, like, how much they've given up and how much they've been essentially forced to give up, and their whole lives have been pulled out from underneath them. It's like
Right.
a really intense thing to go through.
It for sure is. I mean, I think ultimately there's arguments to be made for both cases, but it would probably be a better decision to tell him
At this, with the amount of people that know,
with the
it's-
amount of people that know, and the longer
Right.
that it goes on, the bigger of betrayal it is.
I think
Right.
the kind of person
So-
that Saul is too. Like, I think if Robert had done it with Grace, he would have a lot easier time not saying anything, because that's just the kind of person that he and Grace are compared to the kind of people that Frankie and Saul are.
well, right now, Saul, I mean, he's lucky that Robert is in this, like, needs to be healthy and back from the hospital moment, because he's being able to cover up his anxiety by being extra Hawkeye on him and his eating habits and stuff. So him freaking out about the string cheese is
that
not.
was so funny.
And as he's like chewing, he's just like, but it's part
That was
skin.
when all the kids decided to leave, and they're like, "Yep, we are not."
And then
able
they
to
open the
leave."
door and hear the screaming. They're like, yeah, we gotta go
We're gonna
back
have to
in.
go
I love that part skim thing, because that was the same argument I'd use about going to the soft serve machine every day in college. I'd be like, it's calcium, it's fine. I love that. You know, it is. God
Right.
bless.
But so then they're kind of, it comes to a culmination where at the end of the night, Robert's very much like, what's going on? You're not telling me something. And I thought that Saul was about to say it.
I did too.
I kind of thought he was going to say it, and the episode would have ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger of like, we don't know how he took it.
Kind of like the season finale where he's walking up to the door. I thought the same thing.
But then we did the ring exchange, which was really sweet and tender. And it kind of made me wish more that they had just revealed what was really at play here.
Right, because now
he's just digging a deeper and deeper
he really
hole.
is. Yeah.
I mean, it's good television, but damn it, just talk to him.
I know that's what gets to me with these kind of shows. I think it's like anytime you want something to be resolved, that's the thing that they're gonna hold out the longest to do, because I feel like
coming back.
I feel like with this secret, we saw it last season finale, and I almost feel like it might be until this season finale that he actually says anything.
That
about
wouldn't
it.
surprise me if that was their choice.
Whew, making us sweat, Grace and Frankie. You too.
For all the right reasons.
Oh, that's right. Yam lube. Can we do some predicciones?
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
Sound is right on it. Thanks, guys.
predictions.
Let's go down the line.
Wait, I went first last time. Someone else go first.
Well, I kind of said like 3 of my predictions.
Yeah, I mean,
So, no predictions, not good.
I think we're gonna see more from Mal and Coyote. I want to see more of that. I know we like touched on it last season, and I think that I know you said like the telenovela thing about like maybe the babies are his. Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
I knew someone said that.
Ole.
I don't know. I want to see more of their story unravel. I want to know more about their past because we've touched on it. They explained what happened that night where he was like outside her house, but I want to see more about their relationship. I want to dig deeper into that, and we don't really know her husband very well, you know. So
I think he's dead. Where has he been? He just like knocked her up and then left.
he's a doctor. He's
Yeah.
busy with things.
But I don't know, like maybe that's an opportunity for Coyote to swoop in, even though I hate the step siblings thing, but whatever.
I really
think,
don't want that to
I
be a
hate it.
thing.
I hate it. Every show I do, there's for some reason there's like weird step sibling chemistry, and I've had
Drama.
enough of it.
But I feel like at
it's
this
so
point,
in right now.
It's,
It is.
it's
So
so
trendy.
trend. It's trending on
Hooking
Twitter.
up with your step siblings.
But at this point, like the step sibling thing should be irrelevant because they didn't know that they were going to be step
Right.
siblings, and
I
they were
agree.
together before that.
I
That's
just don't
true.
like the
Can't
idea
find true love,
of those siblings
even with
together.
the legal document.
I just think that they're polar opposites, you know? Like
I agree. It
but
doesn't-
I like that. I think that's sometimes like
How is he gonna parent her children? I don't see it. But Brianna and Bud, which I know is weird and
It's
nobody agrees
not-
with me, I still
I still think
mentioned
he's
that.
gay.
No, okay, look. When Bud started,
They kind of haven't like given him enough characterization yet to
Yeah,
really
I
know
don't
what his
know.
sexuality is. He's almost like asexual at this point.
but
Yeah.
Bud was noticing so many things about Brianna at that meeting. He was like, "No, I can tell when you're lying, and this happens, and your hair gets blonder." And I'm like, "Bud,
your hair gets
What?
See, I don't think it's
up?
sexual tension. I think it's like intellectual tension because they're both clearly like think that they're the
that
smartest
might be
person in
what
the room.
both of them need. Like, they don't really need hot and spicy in their lives. Like, they're both doing a lot."
These two
I
families
still ship
clearly
it.
have a lot of chemistry.
This is
Really, I
true.
think their DNA must like for some reason be like matches made in heaven because there was like husband, wife, husband, husband.
The two wives are like
wife.
Bud and
Yes.
Coyote are adopted though, so not to poke a hole in your theory,
Maybe not
but-
DNA, but maybe just like crazy chemistry. I don't know. Like, there's something there with these two families where they were like destined to be on this earth together.
DNA
Absolutely.
destiny.
Ooh.
And then my other
Alright.
prediction
There's a
is
bad
just
reality show under that name somewhere.
God. I think Grace is going to explore more of herself as going forward.
With Yam.
Yeah.
lubricant.
Oh, we don't need to see that, but maybe just.
It is Netflix.
Guys, think about the push during Thanksgiving time for that product because of like
Yes.
you know, because yams are used in Thanksgiving stuff. So it's like
Oh,
it's like a
boy.
fall. It's a seasonal treat.
Pumpkin
Yeah.
spice.
Oh, pumpkin spice. There's probably pumpkin spice lube out there already. let's be honest.
Poor lady. Let's let her finish
Sorry,
her
sorry.
prediction.
That's cool. That was weird. I think Grace is gonna. I don't know if she'll like maybe try to make new friends. If she'll be like trying to maybe. I'd like to see her do speed dating.
I think that's a great idea for an episode
She
for the
needs
show.
to loosen up and just meet a lot of people and just be by herself. But she can date casually. Like these long, like really in-depth relationships are just. They're heavy, and you don't really need this in your twilight years. Like, have fun.
Get in there. Listen, I think that the relationship between Frankie and her yam lover is going to unfold a little bit
Yes,
more.
please.
As she buys more yams, perhaps she'll go on dates, perhaps
They're so
he'll
cute.
romance her.
Oh my god, he was so sweet. I'll always be your yam man.
Yeah. That was a spicy cheek kiss, too.
It
Yes.
was very subtle.
You don't
He's
see
very
those very
smooth.
often. So I hope that transpires, and that's my prediction.
Right.
You, sir?
I think that I don't know if it'll be towards the end of the season or if it might be soon, but if I had to guess, I think when Saul does tell Robert about the cheating, I think it's going to upset Robert much more than anyone thinks, and it's going to cause the family to pick sides and kind of going to have to rally behind them to put them back together.
All right. Well, I think it could all happen. That sums up our show for today, folks.
Yes.
Would you like to tell the people where they can find you?
Everyone, at Zach Kelch on social media. Have a good evening.
At Dani Golub on all your platforms.
You can find me at Joelle Monique and everywhere on Black Girl Nerds.
And I am at Lauren Lograsso, and I have a show tonight in Burbank at the Holiday Inn at 8:30 p.m. Come on down. It's free. Oh, here it goes.
The music is playing
The music
out.
is playing. And I also have a show on Friday at Bar 20 at 10 p.m. Also free, so come on down.
Woo. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. God bless you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.